Welcome to day 3 of our project. In this lesson, we're going to create a reusable UI component. This is going to be the list of components we'll be using throughout the project. We will not create everything now, but we're going to create as many as we can. Then along the line, we add others that are required in the project. So we're going to start with the checkbox. And if select your frame of dimension 50 by 50. So you can name this as checkbox. Alright, select the frame and create component and add a variant property that's going to be the select state. So here we name that as select state. Now in the select state, we'll add an icon. So we use a feather icon. I'll type check here. We're going to make use of this first one. Then you drag it and put it inside your second frame. Alright, so now let's navigate to prototype and connect interaction and leave it on click to select state. Again, connect the second one to the first one and also leave it to click as trigger and the action to chain to. Alright, we're done with the checkbox. Next, we'll create the radio button. Select the frame again of dimension. This time is going to be 100 by 100. Alright, so this is going to be the radio button. And we're going to give it corner radius of 50. And also click here to create a component and also add a variant property. Is going to be this select state as well. So click here to add select state. Now in the select state, we're going to change the appearance. So here we're going to change the fill to black. Excuse me, change it to black. Then we'll add stroke. Okay, now the stroke is going to be inside and make the thickness to 25. And the stroke color, you change it to white. So you can have something like this. Alright, if you want, you can take it down to 20 as better. Okay, now select the first one and go to your prototype and also create an interaction. It's going to be the on click events to chain to and leave it to instance. Similarly, connect the second one to the first one so that it can loop back. Alright, so we are done with the radio button. Next is going to be add to favorite. So you select a frame again of dimension 50 by 50. And this is going to be to favorite. Okay, select the frame and also create a component and add a variant property. Now the variant is going to be the select state as well. Now let's go to our phosphor icon again. Plugins, feather icons or phosphor icon, anyone you can use. And we search for head and make use of this. Select it to add it and take it inside the first frame. Alt key and also make a duplicate to the second frame. But before that, let's delete this and scale this first. Select the scale tool and increase the size and also position it Let's remove it from the main frame and delete the frame that come with it. Right, so now we can only use the icon. So you position it that you can use alignment to position it properly. So that's okay. Then make other duplicates to the second state. Now in the second state, we are going to change the fill to black. Okay, so that's it. Now select the first state with your prototype and also create an interaction, and click trigger to that, and also select this to back and also leave it there it is. Alright, so we're done with the fill, right? Okay, next is going to be the buttons. Now for the buttons, we first create our grid layout. So select your frame and choose the screen size you want to maintain throughout the project. So I'll be using iPhone 16. Then we, create our grid layout. Now from the column count here, we'll be using 4. So select here to update it to 4. And also update the margin to 20. So now we can add this into our library. So click here, come to add, and name it to 4 column count. Then you create that. The reason why we create this is very important, so that when you are creating your buttons, you know where your button width is positioned, because all the content you are creating should not exceed this white space at the end here. So you should take note of that. Right, so now let's start creating our buttons for the project. Select the text. Then we'll start with the active state. We're going to change these names later, or let's just use it to create our buttons, right? So while the text is selected, Shift plus A to create auto layout, and come here and change the width to 250 and the height to 50. Alright, so we have created our button, and now we can specify the background fill and all that. So from our library, go to colors, select this fill, then the active, gonna select this. Alright, so we are done with the first button. So quickly, we are going to remove it from the frame and delete the frame, since we've gotten what we want. Now select that and create component. Then we can add more variant buttons we want to create, right? So let's rename the frame as a button. Alright, navigate to your panel, add variant property. So this time we're going to add another button again. So the second one here is going to be the over state. Right, so let's tap here and change it to over. Alright, then select the main frame and change the background fill. Come here, detach this first, then go to your grid and go to over. Alright, but make sure there's kind of differences there. The active state, the bottom is supposed to be different. Let's go back and fix that. Here, the active color is supposed to be 189076. Is that correct? That's correct. Then the hover state, let's check from the colors we created. Hover state, let's confirm that too. Alright, so hover state is supposed to be 1BAF885. Alright, let's go. Yeah, just too close. Now let's add one more. Then the next one is going to be the disabled state, right? So we change it to disabled and leave it there. Then the background fill is going to be disabled this time. So go to your grid and go to disable. Add another one again. So this time we're going to be the error state. Error. So rename this to error state. And the error state, select the background and go to your fill and also detach it, then select here and go to error. So this is the error state. Add one more, and this is going to be the success state. So we change this to success. Right. So then select the mainframe and also change the background, detach, and the success state is going to be that. Correct. So we have created the buttons we need for our project. Along the line, we can create more and more pending when it is required. Right. So let's bring them down a bit. Okay. All right. Next is going to be the password field. So you're going to create a form that will enable the user to hide and show password. All right. For that, let's take our frame of iOS 16 as well and bring back to our grid. On our grid layout, we have a 4-column count there already. So you just click on the toggle and add the 4-column counts. All right. So here we're going to create the password field that will enable us to hide and show our password. We need it in our project. So let's take a frame text to and write password. And also create another button following the same format, Shift A, and change here to 350, and also change here to 50. All right. Then the text, we can change the direction to the left by clicking here. Okay. So let's give it a stroke and border of stroke. We can update the colors later. So this is just going to be a component. It doesn't matter. So now in the show state, we're going to add an icon, right? So let's go to our plugins and search for I. So we use this in the show and the off state. So let's add this in the off state and put it inside the frame. Okay. So while it's there, we're going to increase the spacing between them. So here, this spacing, double click there and drag it until the I is almost the end of the listing, and update the text here to asterisk that will show that the password is not showing. Right. So here we can update one more thing. That is, let's reduce the padding. Okay, we can either use the number here to reduce the padding, or you can drag easily to adjust it. All right, so you leave it there, and this other side too. You can also come here by the left to also increase it small. All right, select it and make sure it's properly aligned to the center of the frame, that is the text and all that. Okay, the reason why you see here is always because of this password field. The code sign is making it too. Okay, so now let's select here and create our component. Then we add a variant property. So the variant property, this other state is going to be the show state, right? Say show state. So the first one, the default one is going to be the high state, right? So in the show state, we're going to delete this and add this into the frame. So I put it there and make sure it's there. All right, then here we just randomly show the password and add that. Okay, let's select the icon and align it properly. Okay, So that's for the password. And next is going to be the forms. So the forms we're going to be using will capture the user information, that is the first name, last name, and all that. We also need to create it as a component so that whatever is required, we don't need to go back and start creating and create it. Okay, so that is the project I'm going to give you before the next lesson. Create a form that will capture user information, that is the username, password, first name, last name, based on our project description. Look at what is required from the user, what do we need to capture from the user based on this medical app we are building, and use it to generate your form fields. Create it as a component and add it to your component library. Now we're done. What we're going to do next is cut all these components we created, Ctrl X, and we're going to create another page. Come to your left panel here and add another page. Then this page 3 is going to be our component page. So this is where all our components will be kept. So now come here and paste them here, then we have them here, right? So you can go and test to see whether all these components are working. It's very simple. Go back to the design panel, be this frame that is here. You can go to your assets and drag in all those components there, then you see whether they're there. Okay, for our local component, now you see all the components we created are out there, so you can move them one after the other to check. So now our button is here. We can also always change the button we want from the drop down here, and we can rename it whatever we want. So that is quite cool. Then we have our checkbox, we have our password field, we have our favorites, and we also have our checkbox. So I just want to put them there so that you can test. Now if I select the screen and preview it, we'll have something like this. You can see all the things are there. Or for our password field, remember we did not do the prototype, so we're not able to use it. So you can see the favorite is working and the checkbox is also working. Then we're going to modify whatever we want to modify when we are doing the design, or this is going to be a rough sketch of that. Now let's go back to our file and go to our where do we call our components. Then we do that of the hide show password. Okay, so quickly I'm going to take a frame and just draw it over so that we'll see what it takes. Okay, good. So this password was not in the frame, so now I think it's inside the frame. Let's do our prototype. Go back to our prototype, then the select state, we want if the user type here, the password should show, and use this tab again, the password should hide, right? So that is why we're going to do that. So let's select only the eye icon, then we'll add the interaction to this form like this. Okay, and leave it on click event. Then this other one, select the second one, excuse me, and also add interaction to the first form like this. So this way they are working perfectly. So if you go back to your design panel and check that, you should see that it's working perfectly. Right, we're done. We can remove this frame and delete it back. So go back to the design panel and bring out the frame. So we delete this. So if you go back to your design now and check, the prototype should work perfectly. So this is it, right? So let's preview again and see the result. So this time the password show and hide should work. Alright, that's it. Alright, see you in the next lecture.